shoot to kill. Know what I mean? All right, let's move out.
It out here, boys. Watch it.
Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're listening to Batman on Film.
Welcome to episode number 4 of Batman 89 Chapter by Chapter, a Batman on Film podcast, breaking down live-action Batman movies chapter by chapter. I'm your host, Ryan Lauer, and with me are two fine gentlemen. We have the senior BOF contributor, Heavenly Javi Trujillo. Javi, welcome.
Hey, happy to be here and talk this very, very important Batman. I'm so excited to talk about this and this chapter in particular.
Yes. Yeah. Great chapter. We're going to dive in and have a lot of fun with that in a second. But also is the main man, the gumbo guru of Texas, Bill Jet Ramey himself. Bill, welcome to a podcast from your own site.
Hello. I will say that furthermore, on that note, I am subbing for Justin Kowalski. So
okay,
but I'm glad
who's
to
at
be
home
here.
washing his tights.
Exactly. How did you know
Whoever
that?
doesn't make it, they're always at home washing their tights. I think it's
Bill,
appropriate.
I have a question for Bill before we get rolling, because I've been seeing this rumor trending today about DC Comics.
Uh-oh.
Is it true that Batman on Film started on a web TV? Is there any truth to that origin? I don't think you've ever told this story.
I've never
before.
told that story. You know what?
Who scooped you?
This is for a podcast, right, Lauer?
It is.
Shouldn't there be a podcast about the history of Batman on Film?
I think there should be.
That's a good idea. I think we should.
My
do
sources
that at
tell
some
me
point.
there's one out there.
There may be.
Break the internet.
Didn't we record that, Lauer? Didn't we? What's it called?
We did, and we had one more part to do as well.
Yeah.
That we're just really taking our time with to give as much distance from the Batman as possible before we do that next chapter, because then we don't know the next the next installment.
BOF Chronicles. That's it. The BOF Chronicles. Yeah, check that out.
I think it won awards, but
It
I
did.
could be making this
Several.
Several. Yes.
Yeah, I had to get a new place in the office for all those statues we got.
Statues in the shape of Boudin sausage.
Yeah, we had to make that press tour for it and the whole 9 yards. It was hectic, but it was well worth it. Right?
Worth it. Absolutely. Lit the podcast world on fire. So check that out on Batman on Film. But listen to us first as we dive into this chapter of this newly it's still fresh spinoff series. Bill and I on every episode did the Batman chapter by chapter, and that too set the podcast world on fire. And Bill said, let's spin this off on BOF. And so here we are with the 4th chapter of Batman 89. We left off on episode 3, right, with the old Michael Keaton had to leave the fundraiser, the casino night fundraiser at Wayne Manor, to go down in the cave because Eckhart's in charge of
God.
Jack Napier cleaning out Axis Chemicals.
Axis Chemicals. Make it look like industrial espionage.
Yes. And so we open up here with a nice exterior shot of this Axis Chemicals. And then we got the really just gross Eckhart as he's just, passing out pictures of Jack Napier in case people don't know what he looks like to everybody. And I always, even now, Bill, I think I've told you before that I think Batman 89 is the movie I've seen the most in my life.
Yeah.
Every single viewing still now. When Eckhart says this, there's something about like, God, what a scuzzy character, as he's saying to the officer, he's like, shoot the girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's
something about
I need to
it.
screenshot that and use it for a teaser for this show.
Oh, please don't use the image. I am not camera ready today, but that gets me every
Neither am
time.
I.
It got me this
Yeah.
time too. And then we get set on the inside of Axis. And I mean, all this
real
is
quick,
just,
doesn't it? You bring
go
that
ahead.
up about he
Yeah,
looks
I mean,
like he looks like he looks like he smells bad to where when you're watching the movie, you almost can smell him and his BO, right? And his breath.
like he's sweating cheeseburger grease. Like that's just how he looks. And I mean, I've never seen this actor in anything else. I never really looked him up. So
Dude,
I mean, no offense.
Bro, you got a timeout right there, Ryan, because this is the guy. This is Porkins from Star Wars, the
I know
first
what
Star
I said,
Wars movie.
Javi. Oh, I know what I said.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Come
Come
on, man.
Not too familiar.
Oh,
So I don't know what the guy looked like in real life. I really hope he didn't look like sweaty cheeseburger grease. But they do a good job of not trusting him here. William Hootkins. Oh, his picture on IMDb looks great. He looks like a very classy gentleman. So that's a relief.
in this movie, though, he's like the definition of unmade bed.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just spend the rest of the time. How can we describe him? Unmade bed. So we get it going inside of Axis, and it's all of this is shot. I think what we're going to talk about is shot really, really well. I do love is like coming in on this room inside there, and we just see the silhouettes of of the criminals as they're doing some safe cracking. Which I also, an element of this that I really love is how dressed up the criminals got. It's definitely a nod to old time comics and noir and stuff of the villains. They don't necessarily, they look like businessmen, and I really appreciate that.
They're
but
double-breasted suits and pinstripe and
very
they're very 30s gangster. Yeah,
exactly.
30s, 40s,
and I think that plays to a strength of this movie because it does help it be very somewhat like timeless. Here we are 33 years later watching it, and I wouldn't say I don't think you can totally pinpoint a time in this where it is like, oh, this is definitely 1989. There's just so many great elements like blended together, and I think this is one too. And I've always wondered, I don't know what you guys think too, I know industrial espionage, but they open up a safe inside of a chemical plant. What could possibly be in there that is like the ultimate score?
Test tubes.
Okay.
Test tubes full of chemicals.
Okay. That makes sense. I mean, maybe venom.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. Javi, you have any guesses at all?
It could be the secret ingredient for New Coke.
Maybe. There you go.
It's the 80s.
I mean, Diet Coke. That was a sponsor of this movie.
That's right. That's right.
So maybe. I mean, the purpose is chapter by chapter, right? We're looking at it a little bit more. And it's like, I wonder what they would have expected to find.
So I guess they were laundering money through Axis Chemicals, basically.
I mean, sure. I mean, that adds up. That seems like a very criminal Gotham mob thing to do.
Yeah.
Right. So there you go.
Because they were there for their own records that were being held.
Yeah, I was about to say they were looking for the records. Yeah.
How would you make it look like you're saying, what industrial espionage would you be conducting at Axis Chemicals that you would try and make it look like?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't seem like very it's in use, but it doesn't seem like the type of place that it's really vague what they make. Are they a weapons manufacturer? Are they making
a rival company coming to steal from Axis Chemicals something, I guess is what they're going for, but they're actually there to get the records and then just make it look like it was someone else, not the mob, but whatever. Yeah.
But they open the safe and there's nothing inside. And that's where we get We've been ratted out here, boys.
Yeah.
Watch it.
Perfect. And I think that was a good title for this chapter, because that does set everything in motion of what's to come next, in which the score kicks in really great. Police officer comes up, freeze, and shoots, and the shootouts and the gunshots sound very old school, matching like the old, suits of the criminals and stuff. And I mean, I like that, this whole vibe. It's just, this is a great action scene after we've gotten some good stories set up, the previous two chapters. And it only ramps up even more, because as it hits the fan, we start to see a door rise, and there's Gordon with his men, and which then we're like, uh-oh, there's some more trouble. Grabs the megaphone from Eckhart right away, and announces, this Commissioner Gordon, I want him taken alive.
What are you trying to do? Blow the collar?
I'm in charge here, not Carl Grissom.
Yes. And I mean, then it's just like, taking us around. Jack's just going and pulling rods, pushing buttons. I used to always think as a kid, I mean, he's just creating chaos, which I like it. I always thought as a kid, something starts to get printed out, but then it's just like this big waffling paper. And always as a kid, for some reason, I always thought it was toilet paper for some reason. And I was like, why is toilet paper just flying around in this area? It doesn't make any sense to me, but it's not. It's paper, and it's chaos. And then we get guys shooting at police officers, and then Batman swoops in. Amazing shot.
Yes.
Gliding in of the yellow oval, the music. Oh my gosh, all of that. Fantastic.
I don't know if this is a hot take or not. But in the 33 years for me, like, this is still my all-time favorite shot of Batman on film. Like, I don't think
that's a hot take.
I love how Pattinson comes out of the darkness in the Batman, like the way Reeves builds that up. But it may just be how I first saw the movie and the age I was when I saw it, but it was so impressionistic. It left such an imprint on me. Like, that's in like all of like the gifts that I use, that one gets used like constantly. And it's just, there's something about that cowl and the way it's constructed, the way shadows hit it and fall across it. Like, that's right at my era of when I became like a constant reader of Batman, with Jim Aparo always doing black shadows on the face, and this is like the perfect encapsulation of that. Like,
the positioning,
he's a mystery man.
The camera as well,
the way they framed that shot and lit it does a lot of favors for Keaton and the suit as well, because it's just,
I agree.
It's a great, I would put it's a top 5 Batman entering a scene shot, right? In any of all the Batman films. There's an idea for a podcast.
I mean,
a social hour, or just the original podcast. Top 5, top 10 Batman entrance scenes in a live action film. But yeah, it's great. It's great.
It set the precedent for everything coming later, because we never seen anything like Adam West never had an entrance like that. Like, this was our first time seeing like the Dark Knight on screen, like in this way.
Holden Knight is capes out, and the positioning of like legs extended. It's like, how many times do we see that in comics of Batman as he's coming down, he's going to crash into something, whatever. So just in seeing that with the music hit and stuff too is all, I mean, still now it's like, yeah, that's pretty awesome. I don't know what that would have been like, and I'm not going to ask you, either of you, of like the first time you saw that in a theater, what were your feelings? Because
I can tell
anybody.
I saw it.
I was too young to see it in a theater.
You can age me. I was there. I was 23 years old, and
there you go.
And it was I still remember the audience went, oh, and there was just awe, because we'd already seen Batman once. We've seen him drop, slow drop down behind the two goons, the two thugs on the rooftop. But this one was just, I mean, he's, it's a better looking shot. And the other one is a great looking shot. But I'm just saying this one was awesome. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for my Batman 89 origin story, like, the movie opened on my 12th birthday. So my Batman fandom comes from my dad because he was a fan of the 60s show, but we couldn't see it on my birthday because he was working. So I had a big party and I had a whole bunch of friends spend the night. And then the next day on Saturday, we were going to go see Batman. And only one of my friends was able to stick around and do that. And we went to the mall movie theater, the Elcon Mall, and literally had to wait outside in line around the theater. Like I'd never waited in line really for a movie before. So like the anticipation of getting in there to see it was something else. And it's 1989, so there weren't stadium seatings, there wasn't THX. It was just this big room with like the slope seats, and everyone was just packed in. And like Bill said, like this isn't the first time we've seen Batman, but there was something about that moment and that entrance that you could just, it's seared in my 12-year-old memory of just electricity and people cheering, and that's why it's, you know, one of my favorites. Like I can't, been chasing that feeling ever since, almost, when it comes to seeing a Batman.
Yeah, then he whips out the grappling gun and you know, strings up.
Yeah, it's our first time seeing it used that way,
pulling it and all that. It's just a great scene.
Yeah. So yeah, he shoots his grapple gun and pulls the guy, and the guy hangs over the ledge and just swinging back and forth. And I mean, I love all that, and his yell is perfect. And then as you know, as he's yelling, and then it's like Gordon seeing now, he's seeing this thing that up to this point they've basically denied or tried to keep under wraps. And you see, and I think Pat Hingle delivers it so well, just, you know, oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's his first time seeing Batman. Bill, something you just kind of said of like, yes, we have seen Batman already in this movie, but this is great because we're seeing more Batman doing something different, you know? So it's like, it's not tired of like, oh, he's just down, kicks someone, and then is like, oh, and then he's gone. You know, he's like, no, this is him in action. Great. Like using other things and elevating more of like impactful Batman sighting.
It's very stealth. It's stealth action, right?
Yeah.
Because he's not just coming in and just, you know, doing a scene out of, you know, the Arkham games or anything on all the gangsters. It's very stealth. You know, like when he's standing there and you see Keaton as Batman from the front and they're coming behind him and he just, you know, pulls a punch behind him and hits the guy in the face. Amazing. Things like that. Yeah.
All of it's awesome.
It's one of like Hingle's, I think, probably one of his best moments as Gordon, if not the best, because as the series goes on for him, he just becomes more of a caricature and more like the 60s version.
Yeah.
But here, like, he seems very serious and down to earth, and like you totally buy like his disbelief at what he's seen. You know, the way he delivers that line, the close-up that Burton uses, and just the way that they play up the whole mystery aspect of Batman. You never know where he is. You don't know where he's coming from. And just Keaton just sells it. His facial expressions, like he looks like a crazy person. Like the whole intimidation and fear factor is really high.
It's all in the eyes.
Yep.
It's those eyes. Then Napier, he ends up grabbing an axe, and now he starts to whack a highly toxic globe thing that leaks green stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, you guys knew, I think everybody going to see that movie then, well, I know where this is going to lead.
Sure.
You know, I like that we don't get any kind, like that we also don't get much explanation of what any of this is, because who cares? Always thought it was also cool. Then it jumps to like, it's like a static shot looking kind of up, you know, the graded stairwell and stuff. And just, it's almost, I mean, it almost plays a little bit like, you know, classic, like Three Stooges of people just going in every single direction and like looking down, going this way while another one's above going the other way. And it's cops, it's goons, it's Napier, all that stuff is just like, that still like holds up and it's kind of fun to me.
There's that one shot, I think we're talking about the same thing. It's always confused me, even now, like even watching it in 4K this morning. There's like Napier's running up the stairs and you're looking up through all the railways, and it looks like maybe Batman's on a level above him, but it's hard to see because he's kind of obstructed, and Batman moves so weird. It's kind of like he's like being pushed on a dolly, and he's lumbering weird. Like I can't understand how he's moving that way, or why he's moving that way, or where he is in relation to
that suit was like 80 pounds.
Yeah, it's like, is he
and you can see when he turns, yeah, I think that's what they were going for. Like he's getting to Napier at some point, because he knows Napier is there, from overhearing Commissioner Gordon at the benefit. But and just y'all notice, I think Keaton talked about it at one time, or Burton, when he's walking those stairways and he makes that turn and he has to push the cape back with his arms because of the weight of it. Yeah.
Maybe that's part of it then, because it's very odd the way he moves in that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's awesome on that part because we just mentioned about the stairwell and everybody. So then you're back to that and you see Jack, and then he's on like the regular walk and almost like the half walk. Batman's like right behind him, and does the cape turn and everything, but that's like, oh shit, Batman's coming. Batman's gonna get him.
Yeah.
And let's see.
But then he's up even higher when he finally confronts Napier, because we see him drop down.
Yes.
Well, to backtrack that just a second though.
Yeah.
Gordon, you can see that Gordon, he's instructing the men of like, you go that side and you go that side. And I don't know why. It's always very like fatherly, elderly or something. Be careful, be very careful,
Yes.
He's looking out for his men. Napier spots Gordon, and then he stands up to shoot him, and that's where another great score hit as Batman does like a swoop in and kicks the weapon out of Napier's hand, picks him up. Awesome shot on Napier. And I think I might have gotten this shot and then the last one we talked about of a great Batman entrance mixed up. But because he's like angled and the cape's open, right?
Yeah. This is when he's coming down. Okay. You can see the boots, you can see
Take away my fan card. I don't know this movie.
There we go again. Yeah.
Yep. Turn it into Pete Vera.
Got to earn my stripes back. But I love, Jack. Jesus.
Yeah.
like he just shit himself basically, as we all would have. But Jesus.
Yeah.
Cut to Bob the Goon clicks a gun right next to Gordon and yelling, "Let him go, or I'll do Gordon."
Yeah. And Batman sets him down really slow, and Keaton has that very Keaton facial expression going on.
He does, and it's almost like a
smirk,
a weird little smirk. Yeah,
nice outfit,
unique. Yeah, nice outfit. That's as good of a Nicholson I can get, I guess.
This was also one of those parts too that was really weird to me at 12. Like I get it now as an adult, but like Batman all of a sudden is just gone, and like Nicholson's moving around, and my first impression when I saw it was not that he was confused where Batman went, but that Nicholson was just feeling like this like fate of destiny thing as he like looked around and then sees Eckhart. And like I get it now that he's looking for Batman, but before, like just the way he played it, I didn't quite understand what was going on. And it was also really weird too, just the way that whole thing staged. Like it looks cool, but like Eckhart's walking up and then he kind of stops behind Bob and the commissioner. And then he starts like slowly walking away before getting, turning around when Jack is like, think about the future. And just thinking about it today, like the balls that he has to do this, because he's literally killing another cop in front of the police commissioner himself. Like, is he that crazy or that full of rage at being betrayed? Or does he think like, I can kill another cop in front of the top cop and get away with it because I'm Jack Napier? Or is he going to turn the gun on Gordon next and Batman intervenes?
He clearly thinks he can get away with it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They seem to be, already set up that Jack Napier runs, not outside the law, but he's kind of above the law no matter what he does. Same with Grissom. So, yeah, I don't think he thought twice about shooting shooting Eckhart, right? Whether in front of Gordon or not, you know?
Yeah, I don't think
it,
so either. At this point, they'll do what he wants.
I mean, it seems pretty well established that Gordon is not on the take. So the fact that I think that he doesn't care that he's doing it in front of Gordon, someone they haven't corrupted, says something about his state of mind.
Of course, you got you got a new district attorney. I mean, you know, Harvey Dent. He's just he's just on the job now. So I would assume that the previous district attorney was just as corrupt as most of the police force. So, and under the, you know, paid off by Grissom. So yeah, I never thought that much about it other than, yeah, just now just like, yeah, he doesn't care because he thinks he's can get away with it and has no fear of that whatsoever.
But it's such a Batman moment of him just all of a sudden being there. Well, that's after being gone.
As he backs up, and that is cool. As like the camera goes with the gun and backing up, and there's Batman just standing there, and then you know, like I think it's great editing to then cut to where we're on Jack's face as Jack. You know, he starts to see it in his peripheral, and it feels like definitely he holds it just for like a second, and then does like a quick turn. And Batman raises up his gauntlet to deflect it. Now, I've always thought that it's very obvious in Batman Returns at the end. You remember that movie, Bill?
Yeah.
at the end when he goes to tear off, like right before he tears off the cowl, and you can see he doesn't have the makeup or anything around his eyes.
Yeah.
I always thought this one was just as noticeable. But in watching it this morning, I paused it a lot, and he does have like some black makeup on his eyes, but I feel like there's something that stands out with this shot to where that looks like there's something around that part of his face that does look different. Maybe he wasn't lit as well in like the shadow.
It could be the lighting.
Something.
It could be the lighting. Yeah. It could be the take they used some of the dark makeup had worn off a little bit from the sweat and whatnot.
Like I just feel like it's off a little bit for something.
I think he's backlit a lot to give him that shadow, and for this they had to front light him so you could see the bullet ricocheting off the gauntlet. So therefore we're getting more light from a different angle on the cowl.
Not exactly. I mean, I don't even know if it's a full second. It's a fraction of a second.
Yeah, it's really fast.
But I mean, it's a ricochet in which then it hits Jack. He goes, whoa, yeah, yeah, you know, and as he falls over. But it's a good heroic moment too that we see with the Batman character, and we've already seen of like Batman. Yeah, he's taking out the bad guys, but I mean, the one guy he hung up, flying back and forth. He didn't kill him. Here he goes to and extends his hand to try and pull up Napier, you know, to not let him fall. So, I mean, he's not a mass murderer or anything. And then I think it's a great music going with this too, of like the tension and stuff. And then, then he falls. What a great fall too. Like scream.
Yeah.
As a kid, I always took it because 12-year-old me is looking at it as Batman doesn't kill. I took it as he's trying to bring him up and he's struggling with it, but he's got one hand on him and they're both wearing gloves, and that he basically slips. And the shaking is Batman losing his grip. And all we really see for the most part is like we see Keaton's struggle with it with his face. And as an adult now, I'm not quite sure if he's dropping him by accident or if he's trying to save him and then decides, you know what, I'm not going to, and he's like letting him go, and then Nicholson's holding on, trying not to fall.
I think it's ambiguous a little bit.
I think you bait that, Javi. How dare you?
I know.
I think it's a little ambiguous. I think my interpretation is that he lost his grip, but then I also say, okay, he can pick him up, you know, and hold him above his, you know, several feet off the ground just a moment ago. You can't, you know, pull him all the way up. I think maybe, and this is so much hindsight. I mean, 30 plus years of hindsight, but if if he slipped and he still had Napier's glove in his hand, it would have been more clear cut. Maybe they wanted it to be ambiguous, because I've seen debates on this for 30 years,
It's always been clear cut to me that couldn't hold on longer.
Yeah.
His whole as the strain a little bit in his face, very subtle, I think. And as he's trying it, and then you see there's a shake, it's about to give out and then gives out. I just thought completely of lost grip, couldn't hold on any longer. So
but
that's how I take it myself.
And you know what? I'll ask him when I have lunch with him next week.
After Napier falls and Keaton kind of leans back, it's I still can't get a read on, is he shocked because it happened by accident, or is he shocked that he let it happen?
Whatever you want it to be.
Exactly. Yeah. It does have that ambiguity.
Or in Javi's case, he's yeah, I murdered Jack Napier.
Well, I mean, that would be consistent with, 1939 Batman.
Yes.
A fitting end for his
for his lot. Yeah, that's something else to think about. Here's more hindsight. I'm with you, Brian. I've seen this movie more than any other Batman film. And it always I always was curious about, you see when he's holding Jack Napier, he's got him by one hand over the pit of acid, vat of acid, whatever. His cheeks are been, you see the ricocheted bullet hit him in the face. And it looks like it went through both sides of his cheek.
Yeah.
Right?
It's messed up.
And I'm like, okay, didn't that blow his teeth out? Because next time we see the Joker, he's got a full set of choppers in there.
Well, that's
am I really nitpicking this right here?
No, that's paying attention to. They did their homework with the Joker in the comics. Because how many times has Joker lost teeth in comics? And then next thing you know, next time he pops up, he's got great, straight, big white teeth every time. So it's just.
I think he has self-regenerating teeth, right?
Yeah, that's incredible.
Well, he's like the lizard in Spider-Man that can grow limbs.
He grows teeth.
He's got a false set of teeth for any occasion. Some chatter, some explode, some just look really clean and perfect.
And then they would get get as big as the Tim Sale version of Joker's teeth, they fall out on their own and they were replaced by the new set.
Yeah,
just the cycle.
And sometimes he has a gold grill.
Okay. Yeah.
Stop. Gordon, I like it right there. He sees that.
God damn it, we had him. That's that son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch. The mayor comes walking in. What the hell's going on here? and then he's, he yells up at Batman of hold it right there. And then Batman, you can see as he's stepped back and he looks at each side, and you see there's, through the windows, silhouette of a police officer coming in this side. He looks the other way, police officer coming in that side. And so then he just looks down and, he throws a smoke capsule and he grapples up. And then we hear an officer that comes up to Gordon, and we hear them as we're witnessing this. He says, who is this guy? And Gordon, I don't know, but until we find out, to keep a lid on it. But as he goes up, there's something cool with, it almost seems like there's something on Batman's boots as he's gliding up in the smoke to disappear. But Burton definitely adds a 50s sci-fi sound effect with him as he's going up, of a soaring kind of sort of deal, which I find a little bit charming. I like it.
And I like him. He spreads the cape again as he goes up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think the thing on his boot is the bat sonar.
There you go. Makes sense.
He might have needed to call bats in at some point.
Mm-hmm. There you go. They're on standby. He's like, no, I don't need guys. That's why he ends up on the roof, because he's sending them away. But I think it cuts from there after the keep a lid on it to another, I think an even further shot of Axis. But I haven't read the novelization, but it's in the comic adaptation here of after with these events, there isn't like in the movie, you go from the setup shot of Axis, then the close up of the Axis sign that Batman's in front of, then does like a dramatic turn to walk away, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But in the comic, it has the shot of the exterior, but you see the Batmobile off to the right of the panel. Like somewhere he had his Batmobile parked and he's taken off and leaving. So I don't know if that's something that was just added by Denny O'Neil and Jim Ordway for the adaptation, or if that was actually in the script and they just didn't do it. I don't know. But happy with the shot that we got. And then of course, and we end it here with back inside, we see the green gook tub, and then the hand coming out. Music hits, and it's white skin and the green nails, and I think that's such an awesome
the playing cards coming up.
Yeah. All of that is just like really, really awesome.
It's the whole thing's really operatic with him gliding up, and then like you mentioned, the cape turn in front of Axis.
I said Jim Ordway, like, Jerry Ordway, duh.
Yeah. It feels very much like a play that you would go see. Just it's very gothic, and it plays up Burton's sensibilities. Like even the hand, like if you were in something, like no one ever reaches their hand up in real life, really, but it's just one of those perfect comic book style images that we just go with because it looks so cool.
That used to be a thing of like as a kid of like taking a bath and there's soap around, and I would recreate that by myself all the time. I'm just like the hand out, and it's like
He's almost in rigor mortis at that time too. It's so stiff. That's got to be some mannequin hand they prop that they used to do that
awesome
shot. But
I think it's an awesome shot.
It is. I would, and I also would mention you got right before that, before Batman leaves Axis, you got those two classic the Keaton turn shots, not moving his head, moving the whole body, look, the cops. And even when he turns and when he's on the roof of Axis Chemicals, it's just a whole body turn and walk off. So, and I never thought, at the time, I didn't think that it looked odd. I remember, the first time I just thought, that's kind of cool,
Yeah. I
it's
still
kind of
don't
like
think it looks odd.
It's like, he's like he said, I just used the suit. So it's kind of like using the suit,
And I think it's almost low hanging fruit now, just because it's different now than it used to be, that it can be like, oh yeah, he's stiff and he's got to move, but it's never bothered me.
I'm with you.
It's all right.
And that yellow oval too. It just, the way that they created the costume, like in that scene where he's twisting around, like the light hits it, it really shines and stands out, because everything else is either black or like a grungy gray. So shout out to Boudin Pockets and Team Yellow Oval, because that's a great moment for that costume.
So I think Keaton's the star of this. This chapter, this scene, right? He's the star, and not a word of dialogue.
Not word of dialogue.
Love it. That's the way that Batman would want it.
Yeah.
I know Javi's thinking he's trying to relive the scene to see if he says anything. Right? But
I'm like playing it through. I'm like,
yeah, he says nothing the entire scene.
Yeah, he doesn't. Holy wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Kind of like
you heard it. You heard it here. You heard it here first. And so,
but I mean, if you watch like the commentary on this and Returns, Burton, there's like two things Burton talks about a lot. One being that, they're always taking away moments from Batman or dialogue from Batman, figuring that he would want to stick to the shadows, because the other thing he talks about a lot, his psychological profile doesn't fit that. He wants to stay hidden. And if you haven't listened to those commentaries, if you took a shot for every time Burton mentions like psychological profile, you would already be drunk by this scene. Like he says it a lot.
It's funny because I don't actually ever watch this movie and think like, oh, this is a deep psychological analyzation movie. You know what I mean? I don't see that at all with this. So it's interesting that that's what what he was trying to accomplish. But that's we've been ratted out here, boys.
Yeah.
Final thoughts on it. Have at it. Bill, why don't you go ahead? Start.
I think it's one of my, and I say this as someone who would rather not know the origin of the Joker, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I like when we don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of the great overall Batman scenes from the history of Batman on film. And it's without, other than the Red Hood not being in it, it's very spot on to, the mythos of when they finally gave the Joker a origin story back in the 1940s, when he was, Red Hood, Batman chasing the Red Hood and fell into a vat of chemicals. So you have that, but some great cinematic shots of Batman in it, and just the whole 30s 40s timeless look. It looks like it's a set of some film you would see back in that era as well, the Axis Chemicals itself. So good stuff. One of my favorite films, my favorite scene in the film itself as well.
Yeah. Javi.
Yeah, I mean, kind of to echo what Bill was saying, this as a Joker origin, like, I don't really mind not having succeeding Jokers not show their origin, because this one's done so well. So I can see how it would be hard to try and either go more comic accurate or just try and redo it, because this one is just done so masterfully. And as far as like Batman scenes go, as much as I love the intro and it's iconic, like this one to me is on that same level. It's definitely one of my favorite chapters of the movie that I go back to a lot. And like you guys, I mean, this movie's, one of the oldest Batman movies too. So that's one reason why I've seen it a lot. But just in general, like this, it just holds up remarkably well even today, because of the choices that they made to not date it and to kind of make it nebulous, because you have, for then, modern tech and cars mixed with older fashions. And it's harder to get much better than this. I mean, we do have a couple more action sequences that are equally good, but this one has always stood out to me as a key component that not only influenced movies that came out later, but I think we see a lot of influence from this and like Jim Apato's work going forward in the next year or two. And then certainly Batman the Animated Series takes a lot of cues design wise from this movie and how they handle things.
Interesting. And because nobody can see it, Javi dressed for the part today, wearing a Team Yellow Oval shirt with the extra pegs.
Yeah,
Batman's logo in this movie.
That was a Black Friday sale. They had like free shipping and whatever percentage off at the DC Comics shop. And one of the new arrivals was the '89 Batman logo shirt. So I figured that'll be a must-have for my collection, and maybe wear it when the Flash comes out.
There you go. Fabulous. I can't add too much more than what you guys have both said. I think this is a standout scene for sure. Big action scene in context with the film. It's ramping up Batman's abilities. It's great that he doesn't say a word in this scene, but he kicks so much ass, and you can see he is a hero. In this, he's trying to be heroic and saving, but also take down the bad guys. Awesome moments of like his entrance, his backhanded pop on the guy. The shoot, being there, disappearing, then he's back again. All of that is just great. And then it's moving. Importantly, it's moving the story along. So it's a fabulous scene.
And just to kind of dovetail off that really quick, like I don't think prior to this, like the grapple gun was a big of a thing as it is from this scene going forward, just in general. Because my memory being like comics wise, he would just have like a battering like we saw in the first scene where he would throw it and that would have the line. I don't think the grapple gun became like a Batman tool until this movie, at least in my recollection of the comics that I read. Like it starts here with this.
It'd be interesting to do some history and check that out and see. So that I say that's it for episode 4.
Yeah.
So, Javi, Bill, thanks for popping in here to talk this section of the movie. Javi, why don't you go ahead and plug away before we leave?
Well, if you head over to the jamesbonddossier.com, I've got reviews for the current James Bond comic series 007 by Action Comics writer Philip Kennedy Johnson, so you can give those a read over there. I'm on Instagram Instagram is The Bond Is Not Enough. Twitter is at Javi True, JAVITRU. And you can find me on Batman on Film, where I am covering Batman versus Robin, Catwoman. What else am I doing? Gotham City Year One, which is an amazing book. And then you and I have an episode with Sean Gordon Murphy where we talk about Batman Beyond the White Knight. So if you haven't listened to that, go ahead and check that out. And then I've got various, appearances on the podcast like Batman Animation and the Chapter by Chapter.
Excellent. Bill, nobody knows where to see what you're up to these days, so please plug away.
Batman-on-film.com.
All right, there you go. They'll come to you with the pitchforks.
Yeah.
Take him down. There you go. Bill has also been on many episodes, like Javi just said, with Batman Animation. And then both of these gentlemen have been on my podcast, the Batman Book Club. Bill is actually going to be on the very next episode. So go to Batman-on-film.com, where he generously posts all of those episodes of the podcast, but also anywhere that you listen to podcasts, you can find it. Also followed on Twitter at the Batman BC. And then as far as Batman on Film, most recently just this week, I had a review up for Chip Zdarsky and Jorge Jimenez's finale to the Failsafe arc in Batman number 130. So check that out. And then, check out other work on there where I've gotten to interview Sean Murphy twice. He's awesome. I've gotten to meet in person and talk multiple times with the great Lee Bermejo. Those are also on Batman on Film. I got to sit with Bill actually earlier this year and talk to the great Michael Uslan. That's on Batman on Film. So there's a lot of awesome stuff in the BOF archives. So go to Batman on Film. So I think this is the part where we let announcer Rachel take us out.
You have been listening to Batman on Film Chapter by Chapter, a BatmanOnFilm.com podcast revisiting the cinematic adventures of the Dark Knight, scene by scene, chapter by chapter. Follow Jet on Twitter at Batman on Film. For BOF news only, follow at the Batman on Film on Twitter. To become a BOF patron, go to patreon.com/Batman on Film. To advertise on BOF, visit advertisecast.com/Batman on Film. For Jet and Team BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Authoritative, definitive, the original. Batman on Film. Established in 1998.